Okay, let me start off by asking you, have you ever heard of World Financial Group? Okay, so World Financial Group, we're a financial services marketing company whose associates through our affiliated companies offer a broad array of financial products and services. Now, our mission is no family left behind. We truly believe that financial literacy is lacking in the marketplace, so that's our commitment to educate families. Now, you can agree or disagree with this, but I truly believe the worst class that you could be in America today is the middle class American. Now, here's why I say that. You have the wealthy who are able to hire those people to be able to give them tax loopholes and be able to give them the benefits that are only available to them. Then on the other side of the pendulum, you have those who are less fortunate, right? Who are making less money than what we are. And they have access to government and state assistance, such as Medicaid, Medi-Cal, WIC, so on and so forth. Now, those programs are good, but what do you think would happen if we were in need of those programs? Of course, we'd be turned down because they would say you make too much money. Now, if we try to get the tax loopholes and the benefits that are only available for the wealthy, we're going to turn down because we don't make enough money. So we barely make enough to qualify for absolutely nothing. Now, what we've done is we've gone into the marketplace and we pretty much uncovered three main problems that are plaguing Americans today, especially the middle class Americans. Number one is that Americans just don't save enough money. Now, we earn more today than we did in previous years, but we're saving significantly less. Now, I want you to think about this. You go to work every day to earn this thing called a paycheck. Now, before you even bring that paycheck home, there's a line of people standing there wanting a piece of your paycheck. Now, who's the first person to get a piece of your paycheck? Uncle Sam, right? Everybody's least favorite uncle. But then you have, what else? You have your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, car insurance, your cell phone bill. You have your utilities, your food, and everything in between. Now, who's the last person to get a piece of that paycheck? You, right? Now, if I were to ask you who's the most important people or person in your life today, who would it be? Of course, it would be your family, right? So why is it that your family is the most important in your life today, yet you continue to put your family in back of the line versus in front of the line? So what we do is we help people essentially to learn about money and put themselves in front of the line by following 6 key principles. And that's essentially cash flow, debt management, proper protection, asset accumulation, emergency fund, and eventually preserving your estate. Now, my question to you is, if all 6 of these things were taken care of for you at the snap of a finger, how would that make you feel? Secure? Exactly. So that's what we do, is we help people to put themselves in a better financial situation. Now, the second problem we encountered is that when people do save, guess what? They're saving in the wrong places. Now, have you ever heard of the rule of 72? The rule of 72, Albert Einstein calls it the 8th wonder of the world. Now, the reason why he says that is because it has to deal with compound interest. Now, what you do is you take the number 72 and you divide it by any interest rate, and it'll give you the number of years it takes for your money to double. Now, let me give you an example here. Let's say we have a 29-year-old, okay, who decides that they want to put away $10,000 into some type of vehicle that's going to grow throughout the years. So they find something that produces a 6% rate of return. So what you do is you take the number 6, you're going to divide it into the number 72, and it gives you what? It gives you the number 12. So that means at the age of 29, that $10,000 will actually double every 12 years moving forward. So by the time that they're able to retire at 65, guess what? They have $80,000 set aside for supplemental retirement. Now let me ask you a question. Would you say $80,000 is enough for you to retire on? Of course not. You don't have to think about that. So what I would like you to do is take a look at the column right next to it. Now let me ask you a question. What's the difference between 6 and 8? Exactly, it's 2%. So it's not a whole lot when you think about it. But if you take the number 8 and you divide it into 72, it now gives you the number 9 versus 12. So that means you have the same 29-year-old, the same $10,000. This time, that money actually doubles every 9 years. So by the time they reach the age 65, guess what? Instead of $80,000, they now have $160,000. Now, if you knew that an extra 2% could give you that much more in return, wouldn't you want to know where and how to find it? Of course, who wouldn't, right? Now, the other part of this that you need to understand is that there's 3 tax buckets. You have tax now, tax later, and tax never. So tax now is going to be like a savings account or a checking account. All the interest that you make on those accounts are taxed every single year. Now, if you're trying to build and save and grow your money, how hard is it to do that when it's constantly being taxed? It's nearly impossible, right? Now, there's also tax later or tax deferred. Now, this is going to be like your 401k or 403b or an IRA. Now, the great part of this is we automatically assume this definitely is a benefit because you don't pay any taxes up front, but when you do pay taxes on this money, it's when you're ready to retire. And then you have to pay taxes at that point. So even though you're trying to retire with the most amount of money, in this situation, you're going to retire and then you're going to have to get taxed on that money. And then last but not least, there's tax never or tax exempt. So tax never or tax exempt would be like your Roth IRA and some other vehicles. Now, the great thing about this is that you're taxed on the very least amount, the most little amount possible. And then everything from that point on, all the money that grows in that account, you could grow it tax-free and you can actually access it penalty-free. Now, if I were to ask you, what tax bucket would you want to have your money in? Which one would be the most advantageous for you to have your money in? Of course, tax exempt, it only makes sense. But if you think about it today, we have most of our money in tax now and tax later, right? Now that we are talking about a 401k, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a 401k where you currently work today? Okay, so let me ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most knowledgeable and 1 being the least knowledgeable, how knowledgeable would you say you are in how your 401k works? Okay, about a 3? Okay, that's about average. That's about the average across America. Now, there's essentially 3 things that can happen to your money in a 401k. So let's just take a look at it. Let's say you had $100,000 built up in your 401k account. The first thing that your money can do is it could actually plateau. That means that you have the same $100,000 that you've actually saved up throughout the years. Now that's before taxes being taken out, right? Now that's from the market going up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, and eventually it plateaus. The second thing your money can do is it can actually grow. It could double, it could triple, it could quadruple. Now this is what we all want it to do, right? But one thing that I've been taught in life is that what goes up must also what? Exactly, it must also come down. So the last thing that can happen to your money in a 401k is you can actually lose it all. Yeah, exactly. So if I were to ask you a question and say, as silly as it sounds, if you could remove any one of these lines, which line would you want to remove? Of course, the 0, right? Now, if I were to ask you, what do you think is more important? To protect what you have or to grow what you have? What would you say? Okay, to grow. That's fair. So have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Warren Buffett? Right? Second richest man in the United States. And he's actually just looked at as just one of the smartest investors over time. Now, I'm sure there's a thing or two that we can learn from him. So he lives by 2 rules in regards to money management. The first one is never lose money. And what does the second one say? Exactly. Never forget rule number 1. Now, why does he say that? Well, let's take a look. Do you remember back in, let's say in 2007, you had the $100,000 that we just talked about. Do you remember what happened in 2008? Exactly. The market crashed, right? Now, the average person that had a 401k or any type of retirement savings essentially lost about 50% of their retirement savings. I know. Now, here's the thing about it. In order for you to get that money back to 100,000, you actually need to double your money, right? You need to double it, or you need to have what we call in the finance industry 100% rate of return. Now, what do you know today that gives you 100% rate of return? Absolutely nothing, right? Not even Vegas gives you 100% rate of return. So you see, it's really important to make sure that you know where you put your money. Now, the third problem that we actually encountered is that people aren't making enough money, right? When you think about it. Now, I want you to take me, for example. I'm married, I have a house, and I have, 3 kids. Now, what's important to me in my financial strategy are 4 things. Number 1, long-term savings, retirement. I don't want to work for the rest of my life. Number 2 is going to be short-term savings in case of an emergency. Number 3 is going to be my kids' college education. Now, the crazy thing about this is when I meet with families, and I meet with hundreds of families, they all tell me that their number 1 priority is their kids' college education. Yet they have a $200 cable bill and not 1 penny saved for the kids' college education. And then last but not least is going to be proper protection. I want to make sure that if something were to happen to me, that my kids and my family and my wife are taken care of, that they don't have to worry. They're going to already go through the emotional loss. I don't want them to have to go through a financial loss as well. So the last thing that we do is we help people, just like Erica, to be able to meet with families and teach them how they can put away $185 a month towards their financial future, right? Towards their financial plan. Now, as an associate, by Erica going out there and helping 4 families a month, she can make an additional $47,988 on a part-time basis. Now, let me ask you, what could you do with an extra $4,000? What would that do to your life? Exactly, it would do a lot. Now, the other thing that we do is we teach people who are serious about it that actually, they want to, do the business on a full-time basis. They've seen how helping families, it becomes a passion. They love doing it, and they love helping other people. Now, by them doing that, they're able essentially to be able to make roughly about $86,000 a year, and that's essentially $7,100 a month. Now, the uniqueness of this firm is that under the World Financial Group and Transamerica umbrella, we teach people how to open up their own agency, how to become a broker. Do you know the difference between a broker and an agent? Right? The agent goes out, they show a house, they sell the house, but before they even take their paycheck home, the broker gets a piece of their paycheck, right, for teaching them how to do those things. Now, what lifestyle would you rather have? Would you rather have the agent lifestyle or the broker lifestyle? Of course, you'd rather have the broker lifestyle. It only makes sense. So this is only one thing that we do. Now, the last thing that we do essentially is we believe that timing is everything. We help the baby boomer generation. Now, anyone born between 1946 and 1964, what we do and what we've known throughout the year is that everything that they've touched has turned to gold, right? You think about Gerber and Mattel and McDonald's and the Mustang, the real estate market, and now they're looking to do what? Yes, they're looking to retire. So what we do is we want to help them. And what we do is we talked about, let's say if they have that $100,000 that they've saved up in their 401k with a company called Fidelity, who we also work with. Now what we'll do is we'll actually roll over that money, let's say to a company called Voya or Nationwide. Now what they're going to do is they're going to take that $100,000 and they're going to protect it, right? They're going to remove the fall of the market. Now what they're going to do is they're going to give us 7% for referring them a client. Okay. Now what we do is we convert that into points, so it'll be 7,000 points, and as an SMD at a contract level of the SMD is 65%. So as an SMD, you make $4,550 in 2 hours worth of work. Now my question to you is, we always do what's in the best interests of our clients. Now, would you say our clients are happy that we've been able to remove the fall of the market and to protect their money for retirement? Of course. Now, do you also think that Nationwide or Voya are happy that we're able to refer them a client? Of course they're going to be happy too. Now, last but not least, do you think our agents are going to be happy that they've been able to make $4,550 in 2 hours worth of work? So it really is a win-win-win for everybody. Now, to go back over the three problems. The three problems in the marketplace is that people aren't saving enough money, people are saving in the wrong places, and then last but not least, people are not earning enough money. Now, out of all those three problems, which one do you think most people, or which one do you think is the biggest problem? Okay, not saving enough? That's actually a really good answer. The crazy thing about it is that 90% of all Americans struggle with one of the three, and 80% struggle with all three. So you can see how it's important of what we do, right? Great. So this is what Erica's going to be doing. She's going to be helping families, educating them on really the three problems in the marketplace. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you this quick survey. I want you to fill it out, and then we'll go ahead and go over it. Sound good? Okay, great.